Hello, everyone. Welcome again to our AMA. This is actually our 20th one, if you can believe it, this year. So really happy to be here with you guys. I know we started a couple minutes early, but just thought since I saw some people waiting, we'd jump in here and just get this going. Of course, we'll continue to wait and let other people join in. But again, appreciate you guys stopping by. I know it's been a while since we've had one. We've been really under the hood, making sure we got everything as planned and as what we want in this update ready to go upon mainnet release. Huge shout out to all of those that have participated at testnet at one point or the other. I believe the numbers for testnet surpassed about 2,000 users at one point. Of course, some come and go. I mean, we're not expecting anyone to be there. It's all voluntary basis, and we really appreciate that. So that's actually been a really vital part of us being able to solve different bugs that maybe we didn't see initially, being able to get all those different users involved. So again, huge shout out to you guys. We really appreciate you guys giving us that attention as we work towards our mainnet release. As we start this out open, since we've already got some people here and we're waiting for others, if anyone has any questions that they want addressed immediately as we continue along this AMA, just start typing them in the chat just so that I can read them and start, preparing what I want to respond to it. And then as more people come in, we'll just streamline as the chat goes. So again, any questions that you guys may have as far as this mainnet release, just please post them. I'll read them. I know there's been some questions posted in general chat. I cannot read them all. There's some times that I can get involved and give a response. Most of the time, I'm just not available to be on there as I'm trying to do other things as it comes to business development and making sure our development is on schedule. So to start this off, since I haven't had anyone put a question yet, that's fine. Maybe we'll get into some topics and we'll get some posted. But one of the ones that I have been seeing recently was talking about just the different layers to this upcoming mainnet release and what's going to actually be, possible, what's actually going to be able to be done as far as different tokens that are created on the network. What is the ratio to be able to create tokens? Why were the decisions made to do it that way? So there's been a lot of different questions thrown around. We do appreciate reading some of them. So I do want to address just those ones right there, just to start off. When we're coming up with the idea of what we're wanting to do as far as releasing an update to the public that is running different master nodes across the network and really controlling the consensus of whether or not an update is released or not, what always comes to our mind is what is going to bring the PAC protocol network not only longevity, but continuous use case. That doesn't mean that advancements can't be made or changes. I mean, just the simple fact of what we're talking about now, we've had many updates in the past that have really made this network not only perform better as far as security goes and consistent blocks, but also have brought a lot of different beneficial things, such as lowering the supply to 50 billion. A lot of people at the time didn't see a need for 100 billion supply. So we actually listened to some community, community, what's the word? Like reviews and advice, and just being able to talk on certain forums such as Discord and Telegram. It is helpful for us at times to be able to see what other people are thinking, and maybe we can apply them into what we view as a good, vision for PAC protocol in its future and current state. So when it comes to the token layer, the decision to do one-to-one ratio actually had a pretty well thought out, discussion behind it. The ratio could have been really whatever we decided was best, in our opinion, as the developers of this code, and we came to the conclusion of one-to-one. The reason why I was such a adamant that to make sure that that's kind of like the decision that we wanted to do was I really based that off of a lot of the things that we've seen over the years when it comes to different token projects being created, the distribution of those tokens, where do they go, how much control does a new community have over, let's say, a supply of a ERC20 token that was generated, and then the distribution was put in the hands of the developers or the team of that project. no one is new. If you are new to this space, then this is new to you. But if you have been, this isn't new to anyone. As far as seeing projects that have rug pulls or supplies being created, basically with a pretty low price to create a token on the Ethereum network. I'm not sure exactly what it costs now, but through to the beginning stages to the end, there's been many projects that really have some, core faults, just from initial launch of the project. So the idea behind the 1-to-1 ratio is really, if someone was going to create a project on the PAC protocol network, in my opinion, being able to use your own supply, such as the example I saw in the general chat of a token having a similar supply of Bitcoin, such as 21 million. If someone wanted to create a supply of 21 million for a token that, they want to create an ecosystem or a reward system or whatever the use case is that you want for your project with your token, and you are fully providing the ratio, fully providing the collateral required to create that supply, I find zero argument of how that person decides to distribute his tokens that he himself had to physically fund every single one of those new tokens of this new supply by forfeiting up PAC. By doing that, it's really, in my opinion, if I were to look at a project knowing that they had to fully fund the installment of this token on the PAC protocol network by having the exact same supply of PAC being absolutely changed into a Dune token, I would, in my opinion, I would believe that this person has skin in the game. He's fully going to back his project. He's going to try it as hard as he can to make sure that it's successful because he fully backed the initial launch of it. So that was the reason for, the main argument from me of why that was so unique as far as creating tokens on a network that is being sustained by thousands of nodes. Yet you might have these projects that come up that are completely different use cases of what the native PAC coin is being used because of different applications that PAC protocol has been presented. There could be, like we mentioned before, reward system or whatever else that it's going to be. I'm going to fully believe that that person is going to put his entire, energy into making sure that project is successful because he backed it from initial launch. So that's really like one of my main things, because when you think of, everyone says do your own research, and a lot of people, when you start thinking into projects, they start looking into where's their funding coming from? Is it community funded? Are they backed by VCs? I read all these things in general chat about what might be good for a project to bring in, or how is funding being taken care of. I agree, those are good things to look into as far as, what is promised, is real work continuing to be had, and are projects continuing until completion. Even if there were delays overcome with an actual presentation and an actual product release? If there were, reasons behind why something's happening is not, or why something's not happening, are there being explanations given? Those are all things that are really important when it comes to doing your own research in a project. And so going back to the token part of it, if someone is going to fully put their entire, well, maybe not their entire supply, but enough to create this new token, I don't have to worry about, the other things that they're going to do, because it's fully in their power at that point. However they decide to steer their project, to me, doing my own research in that would be one of the, green check marks in my book of, okay, at least I know that he entirely backed, or she entirely backed the entire supply or whatever. So that's one of those main things for me. Another thing that people have been talking about is talking. Hold on, I do see a question. Is it about what we're talking token? No. Hi, Tipster. Thanks for your question. No, with the next update, there's nothing that is going to be increasing the supply of uh, PAC. As far as increasing the circulation supply, that's up to vote whether or not the masternode owners support the proposal that I will be presenting to mint X amount of coins. That will come with a PDF that I'm going to release so that people can read it as well. But primarily, obviously, the voting occurs on the masternode network. So with a mint of new coins, that's a pretty self-explanatory answer. Like, it would be new coins on the supply list for circulation. But as far as max supply goes, max supply is 50 billion. We can talk about increases of circulation supply and decreases of supply that actually already exist within the network. One thing that I actually, really tried to type about for a couple paragraphs in this proposal, again, tipster, there's going to be a PDF. Please just, let's just keep with the chat. I'm trying to keep going with what I'm saying, but I already said it. There's going to be a PDF so everything can read. I'm not presenting the proposal to people that I do not know if they're masternode owners or not, because that's at the end of the day, who is going to vote on this. That's one of the many benefits and privileges of owning a masternode, is that you're able to actually vote on the proposal. The proposal is going to be listing all the different things are part of our update, the things that we wanted to present to this network to update to. So it's going to be, a full list of those things. It's not going to be, the list of technical documentation. That's separate read, because that would be way too much to be putting on the network for a proposal. Just boring to read, and most people may not want to be reading technical documentation. But within this proposal, it's going to talk about the token layer, the different changes that have to happen to Yan Safe, to PAC app, and then also along with that, Yan DNA, because all this is tied together. When this is going mainnet release, we're talking about minting NFTs and creating tokens and metadata, and that's all running through Yan DNA. So it's not like one thing's being accomplished without the other. They're all kind of tied together. So that's all going to be talked about in the proposal, what needs to be voted on, of whether or not this wants to be added to the network. And then, of course, along with that, I mentioned there will be a certain amount of PAC that needs to be required for the mint of Yan itself. The supply, we're still, at the last stages of what we want, the supply to be based off the longevity of the PAC chain at current time. We're trying to figure that out. Currently, I'm deciding between 200 million and 300 million PAC for the supply of Yan, because it's a 1-to-1 ratio. That would be already covered in advance by members of the PAC Global Holdings LLC. That amount of PAC has already been acquired through markets or whatever personal means. It's already been acquired for that purpose. But again, using that to create something for the user base, we would obviously request that to be reimbursed. And that's a lot of PAC, obviously, that is going to be needed to create that supply. If one were to do a super block to reach that amount, it's going to take at minimum 2 months, and that's just not really something that I feel should be expected for no reason. Like if everyone wants it to be on the network, they want it to be accepted, then it should probably be reimbursed as soon as possible. So there's that amount. Of course, we have other things such as the bridges for the Ethereum, BSC network, and then also Polygon is also being worked on. We haven't really discussed about that network, but a bridge is being created for that as well as we speak. So there will be a need for PAC to be converted over to supply liquidity on the other side, so that if someone wants to trade from PAC to wrap, it's already supplied and ready for you. Another thing simply is just different exchange listings that the LLC has taken on, just to benefit the availability of PAC being on different markets that are accessible by people of different nationalities, different locations around the world. Some people can't always be there, so be at different exchanges. So we've put some money towards that to better off things. We feel those should be reimbursed. So all these things are going to be put into the proposal. And there's a list of other applications that are going to be in there as far as these tokens. Some of them are going to be used towards branding efforts to bring more people in a PAC protocol. And so those are something that we have a team that we feel is pretty successful at doing that. We look about a year ago, maybe even go far back as a year and a half ago now, and even actually further than that. Many different events that PAC Protocol has been, showcased with no advertisement of, PAC Global Holding LLC as the company provide. Like everything is geared around PAC Protocol and trying to bring different users and branding and getting the name out there. Going to red carpet events, sponsoring charity events, going to the different conferences that we've been available to. Some speaking slots were available to us as well. So we've really been pretty adamant of getting the brand of PAC Protocol out there. Along with that, we've been pretty successful of growing the amount of owners that are part of our LLC. The purpose for that is not only, of course, like making sure that everything is taken care of on the organization side and development side, funding, that's all internal from us. But that's not just what we have to work for on PAC Protocol. We're a development company. So if we have other things that we need to do to bring in different partners to, maybe grow the brand of PAC Protocol in return, that's something that we're always trying to put out there, because we want people to come and use this network. We feel like we're building something that is pretty revolutionary, And the more people that are actually using it and paying attention, whatever branding method works and gets people to pay attention to this, revolutionary data storage application, just the way that it works and then how everything mainstream works, it's going to solve a lot of problems for not just individuals but enterprises, and that's our goal. We're not trying to build something little and just hope we get a little response. We want this to be used by very large industries. We want this to be used by even to the point of government application. There's many ways that data needs to be in uh, to be better perform in a better performance network. I mean, there's countless acts of hacks continuing to occur because, simply put, it's just too easy of a method. So there's a reason why we grow the owners of our LLC, bring in those networks so that we can have those partnership conversations, showcase what we can in a private manner, look under the hood kind of conversations, and see if we can build off of each other. And so we've had a lot of things like that have surfaced over the last year and a half because of the people that we brought on. I couldn't be able to do any of all of that without any of them. So it's been very helpful to do that and have those different networks come in. So yes, there will be a certain amount of PAC that we want to request so that we can continue doing that in the right way and bring the brand awareness to PAC protocol. With the midst of like doing it in the only legal way that is possible. Because there's so many regulations that occur within the U.S., things that we got to be careful of. And so when it comes to growing the PAC protocol brand, that's something that isn't done without ridiculous amount of effort, and I think we can all see that. Let's see. May I know how many developers are currently working with PAC protocol? Yes, the amount of developers are, let's see. So the way how we organize our developers is we have tasks, different tasks. Like I mentioned before, we have developers that may be working on something that is specifically for a partnership purpose. So working on PAC protocol, the network, currently we have about one, two, three, four, five, six, seven, eight. So eight. Eight doing different things. Barry style, he's our core lead developer. Everyone, of course, Yan, very well, products that he's delivered. He's the, brain behind that and making sure that that happens. So we have 8 right now currently working on different PAC protocol projects. Yes, I don't know exactly when that's going to be implemented, MTC. Your question was, will there be any updates in the Safe interface to make voting easier for those that have never done it before? Yeah, it's one of those things that we want to add on there. I don't know if that's going to be, that won't be something that's added on there like right away. So the voting on proposals will have instructions also listed on the proposal as well. It's a simple thing of literally a copy and paste of a command and putting it into your debug console. So it's something very simple, and we'll put some instructions out there just so that people can do it. But the Safe interface won't be updated in time for that to be ready. Listening to this argument about having skin in the game, and I can't help but think Yan DNA should be bought by PAC. I'm kind of confused how someone can buy a product that they're building. I don't I don't understand that. You can't buy a product that you yourself are building. It's already your product. And taking value directly from PAC blockchain community, I'm also confused about that because that really, I mean, could you give me a well-founded statement about what you mean about that? Because I don't see how in any way that we've ever taken value directly from the PAC blockchain community. Because this network literally has existed and been updated and provided products for the last, I don't know how many years now, because of our ability to do it. And I don't understand how we're taking value away from the PAC community by doing that for someone. I don't know. Maybe you can give me a better reason of what you mean by that, because I that just seems like a pretty low blow shot for no reason. No? Okay. I was waiting because I don't really understand the first part of that, that our company needs to buy the product that we're building. No one else built that, we're building it. So these are the kind of questions, guys, that I will not, I'm not going to continue to do those things. Like those are just complete outright fabrications and just make no sense. It's, you see what I mean about wasting time. I'm not doing that. It's just not okay. Hi, Damien. The beta is going actually pretty well, in my opinion. As far as if you mean the Yan DNA beta, it's I mean it's been in beta for a good amount of time now. The reason for that is obviously mainnet needs to be released, because if you missed the beginning part of this AMA, Yan Safe, you know, if you also if you participate in tests, that'd be easier to explain. So I don't know exactly if you have, but within the Yan Safe update, you know, the ability to mint a token, mint an NFT, be able to put up all the information, all that stuff, all those little tasks, all those are tied with Yan DNA's IPFS network. So, you know, all that information needs to be able to be stored over there. So the ability to, you know, make sure that you have Yan in your account, make sure that you either, well, make sure that you have Yan in your account for storage, or you've used PAC to reserve storage, or you've purchased a storage plan using your credit card or debit card, you'll be able to use the data that you have available, data storage space you have available, to mint all the metadata of your NFT or token and have it safely stored in IPFS. Another thing that's pretty cool about Yan DNA that we haven't really talked about, as far as like what are those options that are going to be part of like your personal preference of security or extra layers of security, is the ability to purchase a S3 compatible, wow, S3 compliant server backup. So, you know, using those kind of servers provides you like basically the most redundant possible method of, you know, having a backup of whether or not, you know, if the public IPFS network goes down, or the private IPFS network hosted by us, the PAC Global Holdings LLC, goes down, there's always, you know, that other layer of access to your data. Um, to get, I can go into that a little bit just to explain that for people that are wanting the difference of those different networks. So the public IPFS network is the offering, the uh, the public offering of the software installation of IPFS. You know, so that's basically the same thing as saying, you know, release a wallet, you decide to download it, or you release a masternode installation and someone wants to decide to install it, right? So within Yan Safe, that's something that's going to be added so that you can easily install IPFS software onto a server. You can choose to install it on the masternode server as long as there's space available, or a server that has, you know, enough space for you. And you know, one, maybe you decide to rent a server for your own means and you want to attach IPFS onto it because you want all the benefits of the sharding mechanism, files not only being distributed to your server but others, so that, you know, you have that redundant feature part of it. So that's the public IPFS software installation that will be released, so that people can just, they can choose to install it. It's always going to be by choice. So as that network grows, you know, the availability of storage will inevitably be limitless, depending on, you know, how many people want to choose to do it. The private IPFS network is kind of like one of the core backbones to Yan DNA in making sure that the files are always going to be accessible. So the private IPFS network is only hosted by PAC Global Holdings LLC. We will have them installed on individual master nodes, as well as provide storage through connected with. The reason for that is a public IPFS node, we'll just use that word instead. A public IPFS node is very similar to the idea of someone owning a master node. They can at any time decide to take the node offline, or at any time decide to resync it and go back online. So when you're thinking about a node that is going to be storing data, and there's going to be an application that's someone may want to pull that data, or you want to be able to send that file that you uploaded, but it's obviously not on your computer, it's in the IPFS cloud, so to speak. It could be located on servers that may now have been turned off, because there's no guarantee that a stranger, basically, deciding to host IPFS keeps hosting it. There's no guarantee that that person will just continue to do it. Plus, there could be a power outage. It couldn't be a reason of just not wanting to support, but whatever the case, a public node could go offline. So what was our solutions to this? So in the NDNA, in the event of uploading a file will be uploaded to the public IPFS network, which is decentrally spread upon different people deciding to help grow it, and then also simultaneously uploaded to the private IPFS network. The reason for this is so that if the file for some reason is no longer accessible in the public IPFS node network because of whatever reason, it'll then automatically pull the file from the private one that is hosted by the LOC. That those are obviously going to be much more secure as far as being online continually, because we're speaking for them, and we're being on the hook of saying that we're going to do that. So it's not like we're considered strangers. Like, that's what we're doing as a company to provide support to this application that we're building. The layer after that is the different things that are pinned on the network, as far as someone they purchased a storage plan, or they reserve storage space, or they've minted an NFT. All those steps that I just said will all be followed still, public, private, but then also in the S3 compliant servers that will have them in cold storage for access continuously. So there's always going to be just continually different layers that just provide, this product of data storage as much, accessibility to files. The great thing about going through IPFS first is because when you upload these files, these encryptions are happening on your side first, just on your side, period. And then they're being split into, thousands of little pieces. The one really cool point that I think just gets overlooked personally, just in the entire, space of IPFS, is that with this encryption tool, every single piece that it's cut into, let's say 1,000 pieces, each one has its little different encryption. Like, it's not like the same encryption and then each one has it and they're all spread into 1,000. It's 1,000 different encryptions and 1,000 different shards put into the entire network. So you have that layer of security using IPFS for the files that you're hosting using our product. And then additionally, we're, as a development company, we try to think of all the different, ways that we can make sure that the data is always going to be accessible. It's always going to be protected. It's never going to be able to be read by someone, because we won't have the encryption. It's on your side of it. And in the addition of the public IPFS, or just an outright power outage amongst, the network, or our network goes down, you have that backup layer that is always available to just reboot the network with all the same files, or just pull the files directly so that there's minimal downtime. So it's a pretty cool, I think, pretty cool, infrastructure that we built for the network to make sure that, everything goes according to plan. And, we're just really happy to finally get that ready to go for you guys. I know it's been, month after month of, updates, but I mean, that's literally just what happens when we're developing. We're building a lot of things from scratch. There's a lot of ideas that we wanted to bring to PAC, that we looked at other ways that other people have done it, and it just didn't fit our idea. There was way too many vulnerabilities, too many issues, and to be honest, it's always a lot better to build from scratch, because now the asset is completely yours. Of course, we have many developers here that are, they bring their A game continually, and they're the best at what they do, in my opinion. And we're just, we're happy to be a team. Things will be launched when we can finally get them launched. We try to just perfect them as much as possible. I see a question about Ledger. Yeah, so Ledger, that's just something that, it's one of those things that we worked on. Barry is the lead on that. He was the lead, is the lead on that. There just came to be a couple of problems that ended up taking way too much time to solve under our current, bandwidth of making sure that we have the updates that we want to present for mainnet ready. And so we just prioritize that. I mean, eventually it will come. It's I mean, I've apologized for that in the past. Ledger is something that a lot of people do want to use for cold storage, but we will eventually get to it. It will be done, and I don't have a time frame for it. That's one thing that actually, as a team, we've actually kind of decide on this together, and I can just tell you this. Um, we're kind of getting, and it's no one's fault. We're not putting any fault on anyone except maybe just ourselves of trying to like force ourselves to a schedule. But we've realized, us as a development company, we build a lot of things, if not everything, from scratch. So doing that, you come up with an estimate of time of what it's going to take, how long it's going to be, and then you try and execute that. But when you're building from scratch, you might be wrong sometimes. And so when we try and stick ourselves on a timeline, and then we realize that it's getting close, and now we're stressing out. Especially when it came to the Yan DNA beta, there's a very limited amount of applications using IPFS. And I take responsibility for that because I sped the timeline up way too fast. I thought things would be accomplished quicker, and it's no one's fault. It's just, it was so new to us. It ended up taking longer than what we originally anticipated. Same thing goes for, building an NFT layer and a token layer for PAC protocol, building it from scratch, not really taking things from, other things that already exist. It's just taken some time, a little bit longer than expected. So that's one thing that we've kind of addressed together as a team, because, we get in, not, we're passionate, we're all passionate, and we're always trying to make things as best as possible, but also try to fit our expectations and what we expect to, do, especially when we say something to the public of like, hey, you guys can expect this during this time. And then it starts creeping up like, oh, like, dang it, like we still have a little bit more to do. We don't want to let anyone down, but then we also don't want to release something that might be buggy, and then it just ruins your reputation even more, even if it took you to the last second. So when it comes to like this mainnet release, we're pushing very hard for the end of this quarter for it to be done. I can tell you the NFT layer, the token layer, all those things have gone exactly as planned. We're moved on from that. The things that we're focusing on now is the quorums, making sure that the masternode issue that some have had as far as their node being offline yet still being rewarded, that does impact the time per payment. Those are our current objectives. The fix has been found. It's just making sure that it's working in our network because of how big it is. I'm talking about our network, how big that is, because the reason we have this issue is very simply put, because our network is so large and we use Dash's, their code and their release of the LLMQs and how it should work to their network, but didn't take into consideration that as ours grew, because at the time ours was around 7,000, 8,000 nodes. As ours grew, that type of system doesn't work over here. There was a lot of different things that just were not, it wasn't compatible. So we had to build something again from scratch. So that's something that we're building on. When that's done, that's done. Like, we're ready to release sometimes feet are being dragged in mud. We're like, oh, what else needs to be done so this gets out? And it's simply put, we're just working on it. And when it's done, it's done. And I'll keep everyone updated as much as possible. I think we've done a pretty good job as far as just letting you guys know that we're still working on it. But when we're not on Discord, or we're not in Telegram, or I'm not responding to something, it's either because I'm in the middle of business development. I might be in a call, a meeting. I might be out of town because I had to go to one of those, or we might be developing or sitting, together in our room, making sure, and I mean our development chat room, making sure that we're all on the same page, everything is being done, and what we release is going to be good. That's all I know is when we release when we release this, everyone's not going to be thinking about how long we've been building it, because we're on the brinks of this quarter releasing it, and it ain't going any further than that. Um, no bug smash. There was not a massive dump by the charity. It's that That's not what charity isn't funded by PAC like PAC coins anyways, unless it's specifically stated. But all the everything that any donations that might go there, sure, but that's not something. They use that for like interacting with the locals of wherever things are being performed. Okay. I mean, that's your own decision. Like I said before, people can choose to run a node. They can take it offline. It's completely up to you. There's always the freedom of choice when it comes to PAC protocol master nodes, and it's going to be the same way when it comes to the IPFS network installed. Would PAC influence or suggest the users or the enterprise yen builds for their storage to set up nodes? Or would it be better for a company to just buy yen to pay for the service? Good question. Well, there's two answers to that. One, within Yan DNA, there's always going to be that credit card option for enterprise use. If they don't want to get Yan or they don't want to get PAC, they can just get involved with paying for whatever storage plan they want. But then also, as I was trying to touch on, business development, us bringing in different LLC owners and like being able to talk to a different network and bring people in, we have been introduced to different industries where they personally want to use the private network. So that's why the private network for IPFS, that's something that us as a company, that's what we can offer to like enterprise use. The private IPFS network also supports, applications that use the public IPFS network. But along with that, it can be used as well, offering it to any industry that wants to splice their data into 1,000 pieces, have it encrypted, and then it's also attached to the public one. So you have the growing, you basically go backwards. It would go first to private, and then additional data can be put on the public one. And that would be, something that us as a, business to business interaction, they of course, that's what we want to do is onboard different enterprises. And then they could buy yen as well. I mean, that's always an option, right? Like they could do that at any time. As long there is, different options of how you can have storage space available. And that's either, you use crypto or you use, your credit card. Is there a plan to move some sort of governing bodies? Could you explain? I don't really understand that question. Um, I mean, there's governance within PAC protocol already. That's one of the privileges that the masternode owners have. So, proposals can be sent there, and they could be shot down or picked up. And one masternode equals one vote. You said you had 10 nodes now, but that would equal 10 votes for whatever's put into the government's pool. And the governance pool, it doesn't. The governance pool doesn't decide what PAC Global Holdings LLC does as a company. The governance pool can be literally used by any individual. You don't even have to have a master node. Any individual, as long as you have 100,000 PAC, you can put into a proposal, and you can get the voice of the master node owners. I mean, that's what I try to explain all the time. Is in proposals, there's a difference between a mainnet update being accepted and a proposal. And that's also actually got a full paragraph in that in this PDF I'm going to be giving out. The proposal just gets the consensus of the master nodes. It gets basically the feel of the land, like what's going to happen. The other part of it is that when you release the hard fork, you need majority consensus. Think how many master nodes are out there. Divide that by 50 and then give it 1 extra percent. Then you got your majority right there. Technically, I mean, that would be very risky, but I'm just saying that's how consensus is picked up. So a proposal can get the lay of the land. It can, and it's not just used for, updates on the network. It could be for something that you want to build. It could be a use case that you want to present to PAC, and maybe you need PAC coins to do it. Fine, whatever the proposal is. And then those can be sent out to you through the Superblock. Superblock comes roughly it does once a month, but not like every exact 30 days a month. Comes about every month. And when that's done, the amount of PAC that was requested for the proposal is either sent out to the masternode owner to the address stated, or it is rejected and not created. And every time a super block isn't used, in fact, and fun fact, that takes away the amount of the max supply. It doesn't obviously affect the circulating supply because nothing gets added, but it does subtract from the max supply because it won't come back because of the longevity of the chain to get to 50 billion. Once it gets to that point, that's it. So if those super blocks, and that's at current state, by the way, which is like 8.5 years from now. So if there is a need for circulation extension, that can be discussed in an update, but long time away from that. What I'm getting at is Superblock won't be obviously having any coins dedicated to it at a certain point. So it's one of those fixed things that is already in the longevity of this chain that if those coins are not used, they never will be created and they'll never be used. So if you think every month the Superblock, when it hasn't been working or paying out and maybe no proposals have been there, or if there are and they're rejected, every single month that those Superblocks say no, those coins get deducted from the max supply. I mean, it's not going to say that from CMC like every single time, but I'm just giving you the facts. Like that's what happens. Yeah, we actually talk on Telegram whenever we get the chance. I mean, they're obviously really busy. Asteroid Flare is, and making sure that their network is ready to launch. They have a lot of work to do, and I'm not here to judge any project. I know that they're continually working. So when they are at that point of us being able to work with them for what they want us to do, which that hasn't changed. It's just waiting for them to get to the point of like, okay, let's move forward. So. It's nothing has changed. We still like keep up and chat every once in a while just to like say hello. Is everything going okay? Can we help out? Blah blah blah. But other than that, we're just waiting for them to get to a point where we can move forward. Any plans for PAC to operate as a FTSO for Flare? So if yes, will nodes be able to opt in to support? Yes, yes, that's exactly what we would be doing. So um, well, layman, I would try and like break it down. So we would be, we already have a Flare validator already installed. And our initial, communication with them was they fell in love with the idea that we could our community, but also masternode owners, as the statistic or the amount of masternodes of all the different people that can interact in price submissions for the Flare network. I'm not going to go into this too much just because it's something that again we're waiting on them to get to this point. And we've actually talked about this quite a bit. If you want to go back to like our first 1, 2, and 3 seminar, we do talk about this quite a bit. Um, the Yeah, so we'd be installing a validator, and basically with there's the price submission on their network, how it works and how people are rewarded is it's basically weighted. If you think of it like a staking pool, it's kind of the same thing. Like each one will have its own weight based off of how many tokens are dedicated towards it. Um, anyone, and the only difference though between that and a staking pool is you don't have to actually send your coins into this staking pool and they have to hold them for you and then they send it back or whatever. Like the way their network works is you'll be able to dedicate within your own wallet your tokens that you want to dedicate towards this validator, which helps add to the weight. Now, us as being a validator, specifically selected by Flare to participate as a company, because they only want trusted validators that they know are going to be performing correctly, are always going to be online. With them choosing to accept us, that obviously helps us with how many users want to dedicate their coins to our validator. Introducing this now to the PAC protocol community, they could choose to dedicate whatever Flare that they have to this validator, and in return, they're going to be receiving the reward based off the percentage that they've, of the overall pool, quote unquote, for valid price submissions. So Flare will obviously help us generate a, a, a decent weight as a selected validator. And that gives those in this community an opportunity to if you have Flare, you can participate in our validator because it's going to be visible and able to do so within your own wallet. that's also, PAC related, Yan safe. But we'll get to that. We haven't got that finished as far as development. There will be different node options to launch within the Yan safe, as mentioned before. That's something that is to be determined for release on that. But that's something that you can look forward to. Is just as easy as launching a PAC master node. You'll be able to launch an IPFS node, a validator for Flare, or a Doge full node. There's other different, just to give people the opportunity to support other networks on their own in the easiest way possible, just choice based. And the reason for that is, if there's people from those communities that want to do it and don't have an easy way to do it within this product, they're going to now. And, I always kind of have this saying, and, I undersell it myself just to like keep myself, level headed. But in different communities like that, like let's just say Bitcoin, and there's people out there that want to run a full node, even though it's expensive, they want to do it. There's people out there that can't afford it, or they want to run a Doge node, or they want to run a Flare validator, or they want to run they want to support the networks that they're using. There's going to be people out there like that. 1 out of 10, if they see this network, maybe the product, maybe they use it. Just 1 out of 10. So that's why brand awareness is vital. You get these products out to the people that may actually want to use it, and you might get that 1 out of 10, and that adds up as more and more people see it. And so, I always say the small amount, but maybe there's always more. And yes, that's also a good point, Nate. PAC will be a Y asset on Flare Finance. So already been provided to them. So whenever that's done on their end, they already got the PAC needed to do that. And see, that's another thing that I mean about reimbursement for PAC spent or PAC given to get listed or to provide, different options and different use cases. That's another thing that required X amount of PAC. I believe it was 100 million PAC, and that was already sent, months ago. We're just waiting on whenever they're ready to go. Canamondo, there'll be some definite documentation for Yan DNA where you'll be able to like dive deep into how it goes. There already has been, like kind of server mockups to show the flow of how data would flow through Yan DNA in itself. The way that you would mint a, an NFT or a token for PAC protocol, that's it's something that you could do command wise, but it's going to be obviously the easiest using Yan Safe, where it's built in with the UI so beautifully. And when you do, when you mint your NFT, basically what you're doing is you're putting all the metadata into the chain, which then also transfers that hash into the hash that is accepted on I, because they just use different algos recognizable on the chain and actual verification and what it is. And IPFS is where you'll be storing the actual physical, sorry guys, I'm having a connection warning. If I lose you guys, I'm sorry, I'm having a connection warning. Weird. No, someone who owns a master node isn't going to earn Spark from a different network. That's a cross network. You don't earn Flare from or Spark from having a PAC master node. Is there a burn when tokens are minted? Um, yes and no. Yes, because they're no longer recognized as PAC on the chain. So it's a completely different token now. If I mint 50 million PAC to Drew coin, it's now 50 million Drew coin. That 50 million PAC is not part of the PAC circulation anymore. So it doesn't technically burn it, but it does because it's no longer PAC. If that makes sense. I guess it does technically burn it because it's not PAC anymore. Okay, I was just seeing if we had any more questions coming in. Hmm. Okay. Yeah, I keep getting this connection. I can't even see the chat anymore now. It's like it went away. So, okay. Well, one thing that I can do to end this off is I did want to read off some of the replies today about distribution for the token layer and how that's going to be done. Barry Style, he put some comments in our Discord general chat if you guys want to go read them. I know he's not always in general chats because he's a workaholic. So he's chats with me a lot, but not available really to, the public questions and criticism and even praise. It's just not always there all the time. So um, one of the questions was talking about, there isn't the existence of smart contracts on PAC protocol yet. That is true, of course. That's something that we want to present maybe in the future for the next large update, but that's to be determined if it's even needed or if there's a proper use case that we feel that, could be presented to the network. But in this next update, no, there's not. So the question was, without the existence of smart contract capability on PAC protocol, I question how the coin supply minus initial distribution will be handled. No, I'll just stop it there because then it's a little more like just too much to read. And the reply for that, Barry, he said that there is no need for distribution. And I kind of touched on this earlier. Users will be able to convert their existing pack on the ratio of 1-to-1 to become whichever token they desire. So you literally fund the entire swap of whatever supply you want, pack to whatever else. Like you did it. They're your tokens to begin with. They're going to be your tokens at the end. It wouldn't make sense. And that's kind of the exact same way how it works with ERC20. When you mint the tokens, you can choose exactly how much goes, anyways. That's the reply on that. They all pass through the same consensus engine as well for a standard transaction. So all the same rules apply. So these are what Barry was typing in this in general chat. I'm just reading what he said word for word. Just talking about the token layer and how it is built unique from scratch. And I think a lot of people are going to be very impressed with it because it's something that people that have been here for I don't know how long, just 4 years now, 5 years. We're in so different circumstances now with what PAC protocol can do for people and the different use cases that we're trying to do. So, um, you know, I hope everyone's happy. I hope everyone will look at the products when done and be, satisfied with them, use them, and eventually that's something that's going to be driving a lot of, network transaction and volume for, PAC protocol, the network, and all the masternode owners that support that. They're going to start to realize why it's important that this network is as big as it is. It's always going to need to grow as more and more things are being stress tested on this network. As more things get presented, it's going to need to continue to grow, and other things will grow too. So guys, thank you very much for being here. I appreciate it. Connection keeps being spotty for me, so I think I'm gonna stop this here. Yeah, I can't even, it's not even reloading my chat anymore. Yeah, I'll stop this, guys, here. It's almost an hour anyway, so I appreciate it a lot, and we'll see you at the next one. If you have questions, put them in the Q&A or the AMA channel in the Discord, or you can send them to help desk if they're about support, and we'll get to you. So thank you. Appreciate it. Have a good day.